Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte. I am your co-host. My co-host, Jason. He couldn't come sadly because it's a Friday, and he usually works during the day. But I'm Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Isle Comics, and we got our special guest here, Landon Huber. How you doing, man?
Doing okay. How are you, Ronnie?
Pretty good. And by the way, this is episode 53, Terror at the Asylum. And it's pretty much about, his book that he illustrated. And the writer was Jon
Jon
Colunga or
Colunga.
Cool. Gotcha. So first off, was this your first uh comic that you illustrated for, or have you done stuff in the past?
No, this isn't the first comic I ever did. It's the first
Mhm.
full-length graphic novel I ever
Gotcha.
illustrated. The first one was actually The Punctuation Men, which is more of a humor kind of thing.
Hmm.
And that one, the first issue I did when I was actually 19 years old, with some friends. And so Bleen was came later,
Gotcha.
and is the, I guess you would say, the second. There's two issues of Punctuation Men that exist,
Hmm.
and Bleen is the full length graphic novel, which is the first one I've ever done. So
Sweet. And for anyone out there, later on, me and Jason are gonna do like a pretty much a good review on like all four issues and then rate it from like 1 to 10 because it is a really good book. And you could buy the book in the descriptions there. I have like the Amazon link, then I have the link to the actual company. What's the company called? Caliber Comics. Is that it?
Caliber Comics, yeah.
Yeah. You know. So how did the writer come across? Did he find you or did you message him?
Um, well, actually, we had been friends for a while,
Hmm.
so it wasn't the kind of thing where like a writer needed somebody to illustrate it and then hired him.
Gotcha.
Basically, we were friends since, I don't know, around age 21 or something.
That's cool.
Um, and then we always hung out and talked about, wanting to do a comic,
Hmm.
and finally did it.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, it's different, for people who are just working with each other, but you known each other for a while, so you were friends, so you knew each other's likes and dislikes, and what you expected the other person to like bring to the table and how to communicate better. Or was there still like a butting heads because this may be like the first time you ever like worked together instead of just being friends?
um, there was butting heads.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, there was some trouble,
Yeah.
but we just kind of kept at it. It's like we got to get it done.
Hmm.
Because we're not
No.
making any money,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a different thing when you're just like two guys that want to do this. I
Hmm.
had already made Punctuation Men
Yeah.
before, but for him this was like his first like published work, even though he's always writing stories and stuff like that.
Gotcha. That's cool. So, as I was talking before we went live, you do music as well, and pretty much it's cool because a lot of artists, they usually have like other projects that are like music related or anything like that. So it's just cool to see, your music and to see how broad and you know gifted you are in different areas. So with that, what came first, the drawing or the music?
Oh, well, that probably goes back to my childhood. um I would say probably drawing. I mean, I
Mhm.
was drawing ever since I was, a baby. Like my mom has videos of when I'm like 2 years old and I'm running around in diapers with a pencil, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so probably drawing, but then my family. I grew up like my sister, my older. I'm like the second to youngest in my family,
Hmm.
so my sisters were always singing and around the piano and stuff. So I had music in my family. Um, but and then when I was like a teenager, you know, I got into rock and roll and stuff.
Hmm.
And then I just kind of had that dream. I always wanted to make an album. And
Yeah.
then I would experiment and do my own recordings and show them to friends and stuff, but um, never really got like my, you know, I was always wanting to make that like album, you know.
Hmm.
And then I spent a lot of time working on music and stuff. And then finally, you know, when I was like around 30 years old, I finally put out an album. And
Gotcha.
you know, it's not really well promoted or well known, but
Hmm.
I did put a lot of love into it, and it's there.
Sweet.
um, but drawing, that's that's always been, it's always been kind of like both for me, you know. And
Hmm.
maybe I would alternate, you know, do one for a while, then do another for a while. But every time I did it, I would get into what I'm doing 100%. So it wasn't like, oh, I'll do this as a little fun hobby and then go back to my real thing. To me, they were both my real thing,
Yeah.
but it was like I had to make a choice somewhere along the lines, like which one I have to, you know, like we were talking about um, before the show,
Hmm.
you know. So right now and for the foreseeable future, I'm really going to be focused on art.
Sweet.
Uh, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty much, do you have anything like to share right now, like art wise?
Yeah, just my art in general. Can I share the screen? Let's see.
Yeah. Go right ahead.
Is it working?
Yep. And by the way, what's up, Gary? Yeah. Got it shared right now. That's awesome.
Here's a pirate.
I love
Um,
it. Great detail.
this is actually only like part of the whole image. Like this is what I originally drew,
Hmm.
but then I actually ended up extending the picture out like three times over, so it would like imagine it filling up the whole screen over here
Yeah.
with other things going on, and that's going to be the home page of my website actually, which I'm
Sweet.
still working on.
Hey, it's all right. I understand the same thing. I got I'm still trying to work on my website. It's a process. But
Let me
seeing
show.
that oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, so I see that you do a lot of like, monster drawings with like a vampire stuff like that. Are you mostly into yeah, that one right there. That's awesome. Do you do mostly just, fantasy and horror stuff or do you draw other stuff as well?
um, I don't do a lot of fantasy. I mean, I
Hmm.
do some. I, you know, maybe in the future I'll get into it more, but so far it's been mostly like a combo of superhero, horror,
Hmm.
and surrealism type stuff, and sometimes there's like a mix mash of everything.
Yeah.
So this one, right now I have just two art process videos up, but the videos take quite a while though, because what I'm doing is you start from nothing, you know,
Hmm.
just white piece of paper, and then you see the entire. So you in the video you will see from zero to final
Yeah.
of this whole piece, and it's not a time lapse. It's kind of like um, it kind of fades ahead, so you don't have
Mhm.
to sit around for 3 days watching a video. um, but yeah, so that's kind of what the art process video. I have one drawing this one, and then another one where I draw this one, and those are
Awesome.
both on my YouTube channel right now.
And do you have something to show for, Bleen without, like, any, like, words and everything to give much of the story?
Without any words
Yeah.
for
Let me
Bleen.
see. Yeah, for Bleen.
Um, I have like the art pages.
Mhm.
See here, but they're with the words though. It's
I mean
not like
yeah,
it's
okay.
not the like before it was lettered or anything. But
Gotcha.
this is yeah, this is some of the art from Bleen here. This is the first page,
Mhm.
and she's actually already like dying. So it kind of starts at the end of the story,
Yeah.
and then you find out the story, like how did she get there?
Mhm. But yeah,
Um,
man, I love the monster design. He's just wicked. It like I from what one person said in the comic, it's like, Pumpkinhead, but he kinda looks like Pumpkinhead, but he kinda gives me Sam vibes too with his head and his face from Trick or Treat.
yeah, the as I say, I illustrated this. I mean, I
Mhm.
contributed ideas and kind of served as a bouncing board,
Yeah.
of ideas. Um, and obviously, as you illustrate it, you you have ideas of how
Yeah.
things should look.
Mhm.
But the actual concept of the monster was created by Jon Colunga.
Gotcha.
I'm
But
trying
man,
to.
I it's just beautiful. I mean, overall, you could do color with horror, but just looking at that page right there, it's just beautiful, showing it's just like the black and whites, and it really sticks out. Yeah, especially that one with the monster, how he's appearing under the bed. Just man, that's like some nightmare stuff right there, and like some night terrors. As a little kid, you have just one of those things that your mind plays tricks on you, and the last thing you want to see is something like that come up out of your bed.
Well, yeah, so like this, like
Hmm.
basically, I don't know if because it doesn't seem like people are really reading it. Like when I hear reviews or getting the full concept of who this guy was.
Yeah.
But he's
Hmm.
he's basically his head is the sack.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
earlier
We'll
in the
go in. Hmm.
earlier in the story, that creepy old guy comes in, starts giving her this these bananas, which and a sack, and then she starts putting them under her bed.
Yeah.
And then later, when everything kind of comes to a climax, this monster ends up emerging. So his head is basically that sack of bananas.
Yeah. Because you could see the top of it where the opening would be.
Yeah, so it's actually supposed to be more like a burlap sack, which is, I guess, some people keep calling him a pumpkin. It's like, well, he's actually like a burlap sack.
No, I
But
definitely
I
read
think
that.
it's because. Oh, go
I
ahead.
definitely read the story and got the idea that is that almost like this sack that you're saying, because it's cool because I like the concept, with the whole bananas, because like again, as a kid, when something brings you night like makes you afraid, that thing literally becomes a monster to you and you don't want to do anything with it, even if it's a pair of clothes casting a shadow that looks like a monster on the wall. So I love how
Right.
you actually pick even though that he wrote the story, I love how you're depicting that through your panels, and you have these different like views of showing what he looks like at these different angles.
Yeah, like here you can see he's kind of like he can kind of float around, you know, like
Hmm.
he's not like held to a body, but then sometimes he will take like a body shape, you
Yeah.
know, and then he
Oh
looks more
man,
like
that's
that.
beautiful. Yeah.
And so but yeah, so that's basically what he is. I was gonna
Yeah,
say something.
that one up above where he was like hovering like over her in the bed, that would be like a great poster to have.
Well, you know, I did make a couple like poster arts for
Hmm.
Bleen, and went to the 2019 Comic Con, or actually it's called the Phoenix Fan Fusion now.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem is, you know, because not a lot of people know what this character is.
Hmm.
People are just basically buying fan art of like characters they know, like Joker and you know stuff like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to sell brand new characters because nobody has, you know, years of history and association with the character yet, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things like if you have a character that you created yourself, and if they get like vibes from their childhood, it's like, oh, that looks like such and such, I'm gonna buy it, and then they become disappointed. But like you said, they need to read it. And like anyone who's watching now, the links are in the description. You could buy a physical copy or you could buy the digital copy. Me and Jason again, we're gonna go and do a review. So in the meantime, show show the artist, show the writer some love, and just buy their work and spread the word because just as you guys could see here, it's just really great artwork and it is a really great story.
Thank you.
Like the beginning to the end, just beautiful. I can't just say enough. Like when I first got this, I'm like, man, this is really great. How it says it takes place in the 80s. It gives like those that 80s horror movie vibes. Like you go to Blockbuster and like you see the front cover. Like if Bleen was the front cover of an 80s horror movie, you just want to buy it just because the front cover and the artwork alone just sells it. And that's what's important, especially as an independent creator, to make sure that your cover is what wants to engage the audience in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. As I was like working on the art, I
Mhm.
you know, I wanted to try to like make every page as good as I could, you know. Some are better than others, you know, you can't avoid that if you're going to make a 90 something page graphic novel.
Yeah.
And there's some are like more dynamic, or, you know,
Mhm.
there's maybe even some things that are drawn a little weird, but I didn't want to like rush anything, you know. So I was
Yeah.
pretty, you know, like adamant about that.
But that's okay. I mean, that's what's great about the style is that, your horror comic takes place in asylum. So sometimes it's great to draw people in different proportions in different ways. And as I tell people a lot of times on the show here, you don't always want floating heads. So even though you feel uncomfortable drawing an angle at in one of the panels differently, it's what helps you to grow as an artist and as a storyteller.
Right, right. And it's important to always
Mhm.
push yourself like a little bit outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
So
maybe you've heard that a lot, and
mhm,
it's always true, you know.
yeah, for sure.
So
Uh,
this is go
Gary
ahead.
was asking, are you based in Phoenix?
Um yeah, I'm in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because he was saying that PFF seems especially bad for anyone selling something other than fan art or major properties. And that's when he asked if you were in Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix.
Awesome.
So
So, oh, go ahead.
these like bandages and stuff here,
Mhm.
they're kind of like representative. Maybe you didn't catch it, but earlier in the story, you see that her mother died when she was just a little girl,
Yeah.
and she was burned, and we don't really know how, but it was like all these bandages are kind of representative of that as
Mhm.
well. And so they kind of come out too, like when her dark powers start coming forward, because um, there's all these maniacs at the at the asylum,
Yeah.
and then they throw this birthday party for her, and
Yeah.
then
Mhm. And that's what's great
he
is that,
unleashes.
that she has this fear about this stuff, and her worst fear is becoming like a ally to help her fight against, you know, the real threats that are going on. These inmates and even the people who work there who are like the true monsters as you if you when you read the book.
Right, and so, I don't wanna, because if I start going over the whole
Mhm.
thing, I'm gonna spoiler everything, but, um, yeah, I don't
Hey,
wanna.
Scott, how's it going? Scott's circling in the house.
Oh, he's a fellow Arizonan.
Mhm.
I
So
actually saw him. I don't know if he might remember this or not, but I actually saw him in line going into the 2019, Comic-Con, or, Phoenix Fan Fusion Con,
mhm.
and I said his name wrong. I said it's Surge Works, but it's Cirque Works. And then later, he made a video about how he was kind of done with cons,
Mhm.
because it was difficult to make sales. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to get on here and start talking about that too much, like complaining about cons and this and that. But you
Mhm.
know, they've grown since from what they were, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, with the growing comes a lot of people are more interested in other things besides comics. So,
Mhm. For sure.
but
So
it's
since
still cool though that
yeah. So
they've gotten bigger. So.
so for this, this is about horror comics and stuff like this with this channel. First off, I'm gonna ask you some questions. As a kid, were you big into watching a lot of horror movies?
Um, it wasn't so much as a kid. Like
Mhm.
probably my parents wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
You know, it happened more like late teens for me,
Mhm.
like getting into horror movies. I did, like, as a kid, have nightmares that were sometimes terrifying to me and, like, absurd and bizarre.
Yeah.
But, but, like, getting into other horror movies and stuff, I was, um, kinda sheltered from that until I started disobeying when I was in my late teens and
Mhm.
started collecting, like, all that stuff.
Awesome.
So, and at that time, though, it was VHSs. So I was going in to like a store and finding all the VHS tapes of
Right?
these different horror movies.
Mhm.
I was just getting into it, at the time. So
So what
anyway,
would what would be your favorite horror movie?
oh, that's tough. It's hard to pick favorites.
Mhm.
Um, One that I thought was really good, because some of them are almost more just fun,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't say artistically are really good,
Mhm.
but and then some of them are scary, and then some of them are a slasher, and I don't like the slasher stuff so much these days, but back then I did.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, the I remember one time I saw, like, it's a movie called Brain Dead that Peter Jackson did, and it was like
Oh,
the
man, that's
most blood and guts I've ever seen.
I I know.
and I
That's
liked
just
it at the
and
time.
one of the best lines from the movie, "I kick ass for the Lord." You know?
It was funny. I have a
Yeah.
funny story
Mhm.
about that because I back then I went on a blind date
Yeah.
um, with somebody, and then at the date,
Mhm.
and then my friend was there too. He had a date also. This was kind of like a double date, and
Gotcha.
we were watching. And they were saying, "Oh, what are we gonna do? Well, let's watch a movie." So we rented. Back then, you could rent movies, like from Blockbuster.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we rented.
I think I still have my Blockbuster card somewhere around here.
Yeah, we rented well, they wanted to rent it just a movie. They probably wanted
Mhm.
a chick flick, but then I said, "Hey, I want to see this one."
Right?
And so we put it in. We start watching it, and then after about like 15 20 minutes, the girls were just so grossed out. They were just like, "We don't want to watch this," you know.
Right.
So they just wanted to like watch something else, and I was like, "Dang it."
Mhm.
But
That's awesome.
anyway, pretty funny.
So with you saying slashers, do you have a favorite slasher?
Um, I think I don't wouldn't say I have a favorite, but
Mhm.
um at that time, when I was getting into that stuff, I would say see that's hard because they're both like if like I would categorize slashers as maybe things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Mhm.
Halloween, all that. And um I liked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That one was, I mean, I could get into maybe various reasons, but
Mhm.
that one was pretty out there. And at the time, I was also like just kind of reading about how these things were independent films,
Yeah.
and that was kind of inspiring to me
Mhm.
because it's possible. Like these guys raised some money, and just started doing this. I'm trying to figure out how to get back here. I'm not very good.
No, it's alright.
Here we go.
So is that I think you told me or maybe you didn't in this live stream, but how long did it take you to you know complete issue 1 to issue 4 of the Bleen?
Um, it was done about over a 2.5 year period. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, about two and
Yeah.
a half years. Um, Again, I wasn't doing it for a living. I wasn't
Mhm.
doing it for a paycheck.
Yeah.
So the illustration part of it, basically how it worked was that John would give me like either little like crude thumbnail sketches,
Mhm.
and then kind of we just go bit by bit until the whole thing got finally completed after quite a while. And there
Yeah.
was ups and downs and everything during that process, but um, it was all done on basically nights and weekends, just any time I could find.
Mhm. And with the main monster, how many would you say you went through like trying to find like that right look? It's like, okay, that's what I want him to look like.
Well, again, I didn't create the
Well,
initial.
yeah.
Like, he drew a little bit,
Mhm.
too. So, but it was like he was better at writing and I was better at drawing, you
Gotcha.
know. And sometimes we came to heads about it,
Mhm.
um, but basically, like he created the way the character looked, and so my drawings of him are more just my interpretation because that's kind of what I'm good at. I don't really like sit around and think of stories a lot, but what I'm good at is like taking somebody's idea and then putting my spin on it and like reimagining it. Um, like for example, let me show you like my most recent commission. Let's see if you can see it.
Oh,
Can you
that's
see that?
wicked. That's awesome. I love that.
The lighting isn't too great in here, but
No, but from what I see, it's beautiful.
it's kind of like a doll, and it's like in a cornfield at sunset.
Hmm.
And this is for Bleak Haven Studios, and so
Gotcha.
they this hasn't come out yet, so but it's um, and so you see kind of like the sunset behind, and I incorporated their logo into the moon there, and
No,
basically it's this monster
mhm,
that comes out, like the doll opens up, and then this monster comes out,
that's
and
wicked. Like,
anyway.
even if that wasn't for, like if, like even if that wasn't for, like, a comic or anything like that, that'd be, like, something that you wanna see on a record album back in the day, in the '80s, like, it's like, "Bring me that, I wanna see that shit."
Yeah, yeah, that stuff was really good, and
Yeah.
um, that yeah, so that was done actually with acrylics and
Mhm.
first drawing and then ink, kind of like in my videos, except instead of using watercolors, I used acrylics on that one to try to just
Gotcha.
get a little bit more color.
So you do everything traditional, you don't do anything, digital?
No, I do work digitally also, but I don't like it.
Gotcha.
um, I have that skill. I can do it, and that's what I have to
Mhm.
do at my day job. A lot of times, but I don't enjoy the process as much as just working traditionally. And also, I don't think what you have with digital is you have precision,
Mhm.
so you can make it exactly because you can fix things back and forth and experiment with hues and stuff
Yeah.
easily and change proportions easily.
Mhm.
Um, or the size of something or move it around. The problem is though, even and you can make great art digitally, but there's just something about doing it traditionally.
Mhm.
There's just that I don't know, that X factor of what the brush does that you don't do. And then even if you try to program the brush to do it, it's the computer is the brain is telling the brush what to do and kind of
Mhm.
repeating the same patterns over and over. And so what happens is when you look at that, it's almost like subconsciously you pick up on these things,
Yeah.
you know, like you would say, well, the brush is having a realistic brush effect on it. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, but it's not a real brush, so it's not going to behave like a real brush. And so,
Gotcha.
and there's not going to be things that you didn't plan on that happen. Like everything is totally planned.
Mhm.
And anyway, I could go on and on about it, but
No, it's alright, man. I mean, it's one of those things, like, we're all creators and we all prefer certain medium. Some of us do all digital, some of us do traditional, and some of us do, like, both to get that process done.
oh yeah, yeah, and there's great digital artists. So I'm just
Mhm.
talking about my own personal preference and stuff. Um, but just as far as like the actual working,
Yeah.
I like to look at a paper. It's better
Mhm.
on my eyes than sit there and stare at a screen for hours and hours because my
Yeah.
eyes aren't so good, as
Mhm.
I'm getting older. And so they get like dried out and it's like, So I just enjoy the process a lot more traditional.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, yeah, for sure. Because it's one of those things, like, if you ever wanted to post something up as a digital item, but then you have, like, that original print, more people are gonna appreciate it better if you wanna sell that because it's one of a kind instead of a digital thing that could be multiplicated so many times.
yeah, and that's another thing you give up,
Mhm.
um, you know, when you work basically that way. Yeah.
And with you saying that you mostly do artwork, have you ever thought about in the recent future to like make your own comic that you do all the writing and the artwork yourself?
Um, right now, I'm mostly just trying to do like I'm trying to actually get commissions and get paid work.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not at the point right now where I want to do a whole nother graphic novel project. Although I do have an idea,
Yeah.
not it was actually based on a dream that my wife had,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna talk too much about it because it's like nowhere near like getting done very soon. It's just like I have like basically thumbnail sketches of it and like a couple pages and that's it. But there's like tons of work that would need to be done, and I'm kind of not at the point where I want to do that right now.
Mhm.
Um, so that's on the back burner for hopefully one day, you know. And that's not totally horror. That's more like uh, I would say kind of mystery with some horror elements, you know.
Gotcha. That's cool.
But you were asking like what before about what's my favorite horror movie and stuff, and actually, I had the strangest dream last night.
Mhm.
That see to me, what's actually scary isn't really maybe so much what you might see in a slasher.
Mhm.
What's really scary to me is like David Lynch, like because you just sit there and you think like who are these characters, you know, like those kinds like psychological things are actually way more scary because you're just like oh, you know, who's
Yeah.
this, rather than it's like okay, there's the bad guy killing people, you know. That's like not scary. What's scary is the
Mhm.
anticipation of who they are, and like it gets your mind going.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, so even though David Lynch might not call himself a horror maker,
Mhm.
his some of his movies are very scary, like said
Yeah.
some very scary disturbing scenes
Mhm.
and and they stick in your mind, and it's like oh my goodness. And so that was the dream I had last night. What I'll kind of tell you about it. I never talked to anybody about this before. So in the dream, I was like watching some scary movie in the theater that David Lynch had directed, but it was at the
Mhm.
like a special show for only certain people to watch it. And as the show was going, it got more and more like disturbing, and then I started getting scared, and like I wanted to
Mhm.
actually leave the theater. And then at some point during it, like there was a girl in in the movie that was like running for her life, or I don't know, she was like running naked, scared. And
Mhm.
then that girl was in the theater, like
Yeah.
in reality, like in my dream, she was like there.
Mhm.
And then David Lynch was there too. It was a weird dream, but
Hey, my
um,
nephew would love that, decision because he's a big Twin Peaks fan.
oh,
So, yeah.
so so
Yeah.
anyway, I you know it was pretty crazy, but it was
Mhm.
like one of those. I don't have weird dark dreams every night. You know, it's not that unusual, but
Mhm.
um, for some reason last night I did, and yeah, I was just, and so that kind of what put that thought in my head of, you know, that's actually way more scary, you know, since we're
Gotcha.
talking about horror.
Oh,
And
yeah. It's a horror related channel, so,
right, yeah, I like other things too, you know, like
Mhm.
I'm wearing a superhero shirt here.
Oh, yeah. Nice shirt. Do, do, do. Just seeing who's all. My co-host is in the chat. What's up, Jason? But does anybody have any questions? While let's see, in the past episode, we couple episodes we talked about this, and next week we're doing a Halloween episode where Gary, me, Jason, we're gonna have Scott and hopefully Josh as well, and Gasbot on the show. Pretty much, we're gonna just draw our favorite Universal monster and talk about any supernatural things that happened to us as a kid, or even fun Halloween stuff. So, are you a fan of Universal monsters? And what would your favorite Universal monster be?
Oh yeah, that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I love the Universal monsters.
Hmm.
I as far as like the quality of them, of course, at the time they only had so much technology, but when you think about it, like how much they lasted, like people are still talking about them today. And so what they were able to accomplish with simple makeup effects and no CGI,
Yeah.
um, and then it still stands the test of time. So um, what it is about those though is the mythology. That's what's it's not, again, it's not like how crazy and how many people are getting killed. It's about
Hmm.
the mythology of the and the story. And like you could say like Frankenstein isn't even really like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein isn't even really a horror story.
Yeah.
You know,
It's more of a tragedy.
I can't.
And yes, g- uh, Frank, you will be there too. I wasn't sure if you were going to be there because I know you were telling me that you had something, and Josh as well. He's going to try to come on, but I know he has to help with his wife and his kid. So hopefully they could come on as well. That'd be great. And if
Hey
everyone
Frank,
can dress up, that'd be amazing as well. I got my Halloween costume. Well, part of it. Let me see. I'm gonna be dressing up like a cannibal hillbilly. So I got this right here.
yeah, so
It's, yeah, it's awesome.
that's pretty
The
cool.
as you talk, the mouth moves. So I'm gonna probably like go over it and like paint it a little bit more, like make like some of the dents and stuff like brown, and probably draw like a symbol in the middle. But that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Were you saying you wanted me to come on that show, or was that just
Uh,
for all y'all?
well, just saying who's gonna come on. I mean, if you
Or
want to
just
come on, it's gonna be at night though. So I don't know if you could do at nighttime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure about that.
Yeah.
Um, but that sounds pretty fun though.
Yeah.
This
And
is Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to show this is another recent, like you were asking about digital versus traditional. This is another commission I did recently for Pierre Martinez's book Eat the Shadow.
Hmm.
And so it's this guy going down like a trippy kind of um, amusement park kind of thing. And this was colored digitally, but drawn traditionally. So, but you can see if you zoom in there, there's lots of like little faces and all sorts of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, just waiting for the thing to show up.
Are you not seeing it?
No, I'm not seeing showing the picture.
Oh, whoops. Let me.
Oh, there it goes.
You see it now? Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So
all
this
right.
This one was
Oh, that's
colored
awesome.
tradi-
That's psychedelic right there.
this is colored digitally. Yeah,
Hmm.
pretty proud of this one.
Yeah. And I just love it though because you have like, the gray tones and like the colors that you would see with the person, and then all the faces just pop out as that psychedelic, 80s vibe that I'm just getting out of it. And
Yeah.
do you do your own lettering as well?
Um, on this one, I didn't like. I took the what he had given me, and then I
Mhm.
just added effects in Photoshop to make it
Gotcha.
look like this and kind of colorized it like this. Whereas if I'm gonna do it all like the lettering traditionally, um, I do have to draw it traditionally, like on that Bleak Haven one I was showing you. Um, it was had to be drawn traditionally to have the final piece, but um, like the only thing that exists traditionally for this is just the black and white,
Mhm.
and and there's not really, and I didn't draw in this because I knew I was going to be finalizing this one digitally. So
Gotcha.
anyway, just wanted to show you that.
Awesome. So, besides cons, do you go anywhere else to try to promote your work?
Um, I don't. I haven't been to a lot of cons because
Mhm.
they're not cheap or free. So
Yeah.
um, so I go when I can.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, with COVID, it's just like um,
Oh, yeah.
it's not a good time to do cons.
Mhm.
But at that on the 2019 one that I did, um, and also a while back, I did some for Punctuation Men as well. Um, so for the one in 2019 that I did, it was actually Caliber Comics that got the spot. So
Gotcha.
that's how I was able to do it.
Mhm. And with your YouTube channel, do you try to update, as much as you can? Or and besides, like, doing, like, the drawing videos from, like, blank to finish, do you plan to do, like, other things as well?
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
I was mentioning that earlier that like what I want to do is continue to make those videos, but
Yeah.
they are mini productions, like
Mhm.
because it's not just me turning on a camera and then talking to the camera and drawing for a while, which a lot of people do that, and that's great. But
Yeah.
what those ones are is actually, like you say, they're like movies. They're like
Mhm.
there's a lot of editing, and so it takes time to do that. And but I do like doing it, and I do want to do more. And I've
Mhm.
actually already started another one. So my hope is that before this year is over, I'll get at least one more out, and then maybe who knows as time goes and what happens, maybe I'll be able to do some more, like or more frequently, because I know that's like a whole thing with the internet is,
Mhm.
doesn't matter how good the content is, it has to be every day. It's like
Yeah, for sure. I understand that.
I don't know, but I want to try to do more of them. And I was never I'm not I'm kind of a camera shy person actually, so I kind of had to get over some
Mhm.
stage fright just to start doing that. But my wife's father, or sorry, my wife's uncle, he's the one who kind of suggested I start doing that. So I did.
I'll be right back. I gotta, take care of that phone, turn off the ringer.
Okay. Back?
Yep, I'm back. Yeah, I had the X-Men playing in the background, as people probably heard.
Like the X-Men theme song?
Yeah, from the the 90s.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. Like "Da-na-na-na-na-na-na,
exactly.
da-na-na-na-na-na."
That's like my ringtone, and then for me to wake up. So
Yeah, and they, when you're a kid, you watch it, it's just like, this is so cool.
right, right.
You know.
And if you want to talk about more about your work and everything, and since next week is Halloween weekend, you want to talk about what you like about Halloween, since like again, it is a horror related channel.
Um, yeah, well, which one should I talk about first? The Halloween or my art?
Just you could do whatever you want first.
Um, well, Halloween has always been one of my favorite holidays,
Hmm.
Halloween and Christmas. Um, maybe because when I was a kid, I just liked to uh, eat a lot of sugar
Yeah.
and then get that sugar high, and then you're just like, yeah, this is fun.
Mhm.
Um, and then of course, there's like a whole bunch of cool Halloween movies. Like I like Hocus Pocus, and I heard they're actually making a new one, so that
Yeah,
should be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they are. And for people that don't know, pretty much the new one's going to be based off of the novel that came out. I haven't read it myself, but I need to pick it up.
Oh, so there's a novel. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, a novel or a book. I can't remember which how big it is, but yeah. And
Oh,
people could debate about, Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? It's both.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas is
Mhm.
another one. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I was showing that actually one of those videos to my wife the other day,
Mhm.
and I was like Danny Elfman, he was both the voice of Jack Skellington, the
Yeah.
main character. That was
Mhm.
Danny Elfman's voice,
Yeah.
as well as he wrote all the freaking music. And it's
Mhm.
just like,
Talented guy.
wow, like that's because that music is so great,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
But
very inspiring.
I don't know if you ever seen it, but besides Halloween, one of those movies that I always gotta watch that's like a horror movie based around Halloween time, and that's Night of the Demons.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I recommend people to watch Trick or Treat too, with Sam, the little kid with the sack over his head.
I think oh man, I can't remember if I've seen it, but I know I've seen like previews and stuff of that one.
Mhm.
Not sure, I
Yeah,
can't remember actually watching it,
yeah.
but yeah, but they both sound pretty cool.
Mhm.
Are they both kind
So
of Halloween related?
oh yeah, they're both based around the whole premise of like Halloween and monsters coming out at that night. So
Huh,
yeah.
that's cool.
So
Yeah.
with your artwork, like you want to talk more about that, like what draws you to like do the style that you do?
Um, it's been a thing that's like I would say it's still evolving because I never want to um just say like, okay, this is my style. Now let me repeat that forever.
Let me bring it up.
Um, are you
That's
seeing
awesome
my
though.
screen? Okay.
Yep.
Let me just kind of go over some of my art. So like this is a surrealist painting. The original is about um 24 by 32 inches on
Mhm.
masonite board, and
Nice.
this one's called Empty Reflections.
But it's great though. I mean, I love it. It definitely has that creepy vibe to it, but still beautiful and like the style you're going for.
Oh, thank you. um yeah, the basic concept of it is like there's like a distorted um you can see even her hand isn't facing the right way purposefully here,
Mhm.
but there's like kind of a woman kind of thing looking into a mirror, and basically what's reflecting back is, you know, um, distortions.
Yeah. But it's great. It's telling a story, and that's important too, as especially as an artist, is that trying to make sure that your art is telling a story, even if you don't have words.
And that's sometimes for me, like I because some of my stuff's so subconscious, to put it into words is
Mhm.
very limiting in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and David Lynch talks about that, but I kind of feel the same with my art. Is like um, I want to I do title. I try to title most of my pieces, and
Mhm.
then through that, people can kind of come up with their own interpretations. But um, to sit here and define everything exactly isn't really what art's all about. However, what I can say, I will. Like for instance, on this one, this is one I just put up on Instagram not too long ago. This one's actually only 12 by 18,
Mhm.
and it's called Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
And so this, to kind of explain it a little bit, this is my mother.
Oh, okay.
This is me. Doesn't really look like me, but it's kind of a surrealist rendition of me.
Mhm.
This is my wife, and we have an alligator and a bird. Um, these monsters over here are kind of like the kinds of things I would see lurking in the shadows in my mind's eye when I was a child.
Mhm.
This one is, um, you can see it's all based around the central image of this balloon, which
Yeah.
is coming into a puddle of blood right here.
That's cool.
And everybody's sitting around and looking at it. And these monsters are kind of like the kinds of things, like I just explained, that I saw in my mind's eye.
Mhm.
And this guy right here, this kind of weird, creepy, red-headed guy. When I was a kid, I had a dream where I had to go to the bathroom, and in the dream, this weird little red guy came up and started talking to me. And he was almost like a little leprechaun, but he was just, there was something about him that just disturbed me and made me kind of scared.
A little leprechaun, something people told me as a kid. No.
See, I think that a lot of people have dreams, but
Yeah.
I just am a person who spent a long time trying to develop my drawing ability.
Mhm.
And then so what I'm trying to do here is just kind of try to represent some of the kinds of things I see in my dreams, you know,
Gotcha.
and that's the part that not everybody tries to do.
Mhm.
Over here, you see there's like a hand coming out of a toilet. Can you see that
Yeah. Mhm. And the toilet has
right
blood
here?
in it?
And the toilet has blood in it,
Yeah.
and that's also based on a dream I had where I was going to the bathroom, and then this hand came out, grabbed my face, and sucked me down into the toilet.
Man.
Yeah.
You could literally write short stories about this and, draw it out.
Well, this, like I said, I'm not a huge story writer, but
Mhm.
this is my story writing,
Yeah.
is my art.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the happy birthday balloon is kind of, and I explained this in the Instagram post, but it's kind of like, um, like it kind of represents my attachment to when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and um, having to let go of my childhood, you know,
Yeah.
as you become an adult, and I kind of had some issues with that, you know.
Gotcha. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, here, let me stop the screen share. Um, I just want to say, you know, Bleen, it's pretty cool comic. So, you know, anybody that
And
likes
yeah.
horror and comics, check it out. It's available on Amazon,
Hmm.
and it's also on the Caliber Comics website. And you know, it's
Let
pretty
me
good
bring
thing
up.
for your buck. This is what
So
the
that's a link to the Caliber's website there. It's in the description as well. And then I have the links to his YouTube and his Instagram as up as well. Subscribe to his channel, give him a follow, hit that button for reminder, buy his comic because, like I said, guys, we're going to be doing a review on the book, and it's just going to be really great. So,
and other than that, I just thanks, man. You know, I'm not. I got to be honest with you.
mhm.
This is my first ever on-camera interview.
Oh man, well,
Maybe
thank
my
you for
last.
yeah.
I
But
just
go
I
ahead.
have this thing where it's like I don't want like I'm a pretty normal guy actually.
Mhm.
Like this, my art is like my fantasy world where I have explore my ideas and stuff. But
Yeah,
you know, don't be afraid of me. If anybody's, you know, I'm not gonna bite. So
yeah.
I just get that sometimes from people like this kind of thing, like, oh, well, you know, and I don't want people to feel that way, you know.
Hmm.
It's just
Gotcha.
like strange,
Well,
but anyway,
I
thank you
appreciate
for
you I appreciate you giving me my book your book to let me review and read, and thank you for coming on. I appreciate it, and thank you for subscribing to the channel and everything. I really appreciate it.
no problem, man. I appreciate you inviting me on, and you know, who knows, you know, maybe you see you again in the future on one of
Oh yeah,
Peter Palmiotti's draw streams.
for sure. All right. Bye everybody. Peace.
Have a good one, Rent.
Take care, Landon.